Hello everyone. In this presentation, I'll talk about Vision Zero in Seattle. And from the last lecture, we've discussed what Vision Zero is. Its notion is that traffic injuries are preventable rather than inevitable, and that it can be reduced down to zero. With that idea in mind, let's take a look at Seattle. So as you can see from the map on the right, Seattle is a city of distinct neighborhoods and urban districts that, though close to one another, change from one street to the next. Some neighborhoods are industrial in character, marked by rail yards, cranes, and low-income housing projects. Seattle's districts have a comfortably prosperous but not ostentatious feel, characterized by neat family homes and townhouses occupied by industrial workers, artists, academics, professionals, and so on. As for the economy, until the 20th century, it was based on lumbering and the extraction and transport of other locally abundant natural resources. Its economy diversified, though, with the development of manufacturing, food processing, banking, insurance, and transportation industries in the early 20th century, all of which expanded during and after World War II. Electronics-based industries, notably those connected with software development and manufacturing, became significant in the 1980s and are now the most productive component of the economy. Biomedical manufacturers are of growing importance, while agricultural products remain an economic necessity. Seattle's workforce is large and generally well educated. The median family income is well above the national average, reflecting a strong local and regional economy. And as for population, you can see that it has been increasing steadily in recent years, which makes Vision Zero all the more important. So Seattle is experiencing quite a few challenges when it comes to transportation. It's known for having the second highest number of people killed in traffic-related crashes in a decade last year, even with the pandemic, which we'll talk more about later in the presentation. But back in 2015, Seattle was seeing nearly 30 collisions on a daily basis, and yearly 150 people undergo life-changing injuries and about 20 people actually die on the streets. Seeing these statistics made Seattle realize it was time to do something about it. Therefore, they brought in the Vision Zero plan, which was actually used by Sweden in the late 1990s and resulted in a 30% decrease in their fatalities. Seattle's version of the Vision Zero plan consists of the 3 points you see here: street design policies, regulations, education and public engagement, and enforcement. So starting off with the first bullet point, street design policies and regulations consist of several programs, and I have two of them listed here. The Master Plan Development and Implementation Program is to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety by incorporating 7 miles of protected bike lanes, 12 miles of neighborhood greenways, more than 40 crossing improvements, 14 blocks of new sidewalk, and remarking 500 crosswalks. Then we have the 20-mile-per-hour zone program, which is to reduce speed limits on residential streets to 20 miles per hour. From the diagram, you can see that at lower speeds, the driver's field of vision is much better than at higher speeds, which means that the driver would have a better way of assessing situations in an adequate amount of time and prevent any potential disasters. And let's say even if a pedestrian were to get hit by a vehicle, hypothetically speaking, getting hit at 20 miles per hour has a 9 out of 10 chance of survival. So in this slide, we have sketches of the existing condition and concept plans of the road between 5th and 6th Avenue. We can see that in the existing design, the bike lane is shared with the car lanes, but in the concept plan, there is a 3-inch barrier in between the bike lane and car lanes. Now, the concept plan is only shrinking the car lane by 2 inches to accommodate space for pedestrians and bikes. The second pillar of the plan focuses on education and public engagement. The task is to provide information to drivers, pedestrians, and bicyclists about new roadway features, vehicle characteristics, and how to look out for each other. They also planned to partner with nightlife businesses, transit agencies, taxi operators, and transportation network companies to deter impaired driving by offering special services and promotions. They also planned to develop transportation user guides to ensure knowledge of transportation options and rules of the road, including walking, biking, using transit, or driving. The final part of this plan is to host events and contests to distribute safety information and create a sustained public dialogue about road safety. The third pillar is enforcement. In 2015, they plan to install at least 12 new cameras in 6 school zones to reduce speeds and improve safety for kids, the most vulnerable travelers. The SDOT, which is the Seattle Department of Transportation, will use funds generated through this program to improve the existing infrastructure in your schools. They will also inform and enforce approach in high school locations by using a specific software called CSTAT, which is aimed at quickly addressing crime hotspots based on analysis of crime data and community reports of incidents, targeting risky behaviors like distraction, impairment, and speeding. Now, that was a brief overview of Seattle's Vision Zero, but how has it affected Seattle over the last few years? Well, here we have a statement from a cyclist in 2019. Andrew Kidd says, "I just feel like it's time for the city to do what they have the drawings to do, rechannelize to 3 lanes, put in a whole lot of intersection improvements, and I just don't know what's going on. What's the hitch?" The specific project Mr. Kidd is pushing for, as you can see on the picture on the left, is the infamous and much overdue Rainier project, which SDOT official Jim Curtin says has been a technically challenging project, but they plan to start shortly. That will include reducing speed limits on every arterial street in the Rainier Beach urban village. Now, the reason for this delay in the schedule in recent years is because of several years of mayoral issues, since the lack of a permanent department head slowed down the project that these activists are fighting for. So hopefully they can get back on track so they can work to their zero injury by 2030 goal. Moving on to 2020, Seattle traffic-related deaths remain high even during the pandemic. You can see on the graph that the number of serious injury crashes has gone down, but fatalities still seem to be around the same margin. Now, this potentially may be because there are less cars on the road, so drivers are tempted to drive faster. And while it's disheartening to see the lack of progress over the last few years, it's good to see that the SDOT is implementing projects that have proven track records of producing results in other jurisdictions and is trying to collect data that will help it to make better decisions on future projects. And that's my presentation. Thank you for watching.